Right, so on to your hourly rate then. Let's be clear, this is your earnings, right? This is how you pay your bills, feed your kids, and you deserve to be paid a decent wage just like every other worker in the world, right? So stop undervaluing your time, stop underestimating your time. Don't be scared to get paid properly. You are running a business and the point of it is to make money. It's an expensive hobby to do for fun, and your family's losing that money as well as your time with them, so make it worthwhile. This is a mainly custom, high-end industry. We're being paid to do something that most people can't do well, and that has a value to it, right? We are working people. We've got lives to fund. If you paid staff, you'd have to be fair to them, wouldn't you? You won't work for an employer, long nights, early starts, physically, mentally, emotionally demanding work for less than minimum wage, right? So how much do you want or need to be paid per hour? If you were doing this job with this skill level and this amount of stress for an employer, what would you expect to be paid? Because remember, you're not just a baker, you're a business manager, right? Why are you paying yourself minimum wage? Yeah, I'm talking to you. Because when you're self-employed, you don't get holiday pay, you don't get sick pay. You've got to jump through a lot of hoops to get sick pay as a self-employed person. Self-employed maternity stat pay is absolutely terrible. So you need to pay yourself to cover all of this. Anything that might come up. Remember your tax and national insurance contributions as well. So pay yourself enough to account for 4 to 6 weeks a year of holidays. That's about 10% of your income that should be set aside for this. Because as an employee, you would get that. It's against your health and safety regs for an employer to not make sure that you can take your holidays. So, there's a reason for that. You need regular breaks. So, to begin with sussing your hourly rate, I'll attach a weekly timesheet for you to download so you can judge exactly how many hours you're working, not just on producing cakes, but all that behind the scenes work as well. So, say if you work 40 hours a week in total, 20 hours might be spent directly producing the products and 20 hours might be spent on things like admin, marketing, photographing, planning, shopping, designing, researching. So, your first step's to be aware of how many hours you're putting in and where. When you're quoting for a particular bake, you should be adding an hourly rate for your time spent directly on that order. Then the rest of the hours that you work behind the scenes, cover those in your overhead costs. That'll come next. There's a separate overheads lesson, and I'll explain then how to do it. But I'm going to attach a timesheet that you can do for each particular order as well. So everything from messaging, designing, shopping, producing, cleaning, photographing, delivering. Time yourself doing each element. It can be quite an eye-opener. It's very easy to underestimate how much time you spend. So do a timesheet for a few different weeks and for a few different products, and that'll give you a good idea of what's happening and whether you're actually paying yourself well for your time. Something that will happen as you work more though, you'll get faster. That's when your earnings get easier. So early on in your business, you might estimate and quote like 4 hours for a cake that actually takes you 6. We've all done it. Next time you quote for that design, you know to quote for 6 hours, to charge for 6 hours. But a year later, I've taught you about batch production, and now you're quicker because you've got more experience, and that cake might only take you 4 hours now. You can probably still charge for 6 hours if it was selling at that rate, because it's the same product. But also your skills will have improved, so you can probably add an extra tenner on now. So pay yourself back for that time, learning and not earning fully. Just like any other job, you get promoted and you get paid better. With experience and skill levels. So remind yourself of what your earnings goal was. Go back to that video I did, the financial targets, right near the beginning of stage 1. Work out what you need to earn per week or per month and divide that by the number of hours that you can work or you want to work. When you add your time to the quote, always round up to the next hour or half an hour. It's always best to be that little bit ahead. So if your cost of living goes up again, you haven't got to immediately put your prices up, because there's so many factors in this pricing maths formula that might increase at any time. So always try and just put it off a little bit by rounding up, just as you go along. That way you're always that little bit ahead. So give yourself a yearly pay rise. Your skills and your cost of living goes up, so your wages should as well. Don't ever justify or defend why you need to charge more than bloody minimum wage, right? They think that's all you deserve. They don't deserve your cakes. Don't base your prices on somebody else's shitty attitude to money. Base it on the value that you deliver, and you know that you deliver that value. So, can we discuss overtime rates, unsociable hours, rush fees? So yeah, I can fit you in at such short notice, but I'm going to need to charge you overtime because I'm going to be working till 1 o'clock in the morning. Exactly as you'd expect extra for overtime like that from an employer, right? Orders for things like Easter, bank holidays, Christmas and Boxing Day, you know, those days that most people don't want to work. I once charged double for a cake because it was last minute and it was for New Year's Day and it meant me working all day on New Year's Eve. Why not? Nobody else would take that order. And just like in a workplace has struggled to get anyone to work New Year's Eve at short notice. So they sweeten it, don't they? Nice bonus, bit of double bubble. Again, if they won't pay it, don't work for them. It's not worth it. Remember to factor in stress penalties, right? Weddings, complicated carved cakes, twat tax, as I keep saying, I'll explain that further. If they're going to cause you more work and stress, get paid for it. Up your hourly rate for that order or charge for more hours. If it's going to take you more time to handle it because it's stressful, you need to charge for that. You can charge more, the better your skills get, the better your reputation grows. The beauty of cake making is that we're passionate about it, aren't we? And we're always looking for ways to improve. Look at what you were making a year or so ago compared to now. So once you get into that confidence stage, you can set your hourly rate exactly where it needs to be. It's not the same work that you were doing a year ago. It's not the same work that a beginner would do. You bring more value now. You're better known. If you're designing from things like mood boards or photos of party decor, your price should be levitating because that's a learned skill. It's a valuable skill. If you're offering vegan and allergy-free, charge for it because you've put in more work to learn that stuff. You've had a lot of failed trials, no doubt. You've taken time to perfect your recipes for them to be saleable. If all your quotes are getting accepted and you're nearly always fully booked, that is a perfect time to put up your hourly rate. I'm not saying automatically for everybody, especially if you've had a recent price increase. You can do it just for new clients at first. Then for regulars, when you do your scheduled pricing review, which should be pretty much yearly. So I'll have a lesson all about when and how to put prices up later on. But another thing to note, something that does come up, we get those orders that fry our brains so much, don't we, when we challenge ourselves. We can't physically or mentally do anything else on that day. In that case, charge a day rate. So if you've got a complicated cake, it might not take a full day, but it's going to stress you so much that you can't fit any other work in. Charge for a full day's labour. Right. Next, I'm going to talk about how to calculate your overheads.